Hey there, Evan Nathaniel Grimm. Today I'm going to walk you through the Pisces new moon happening February 19th at 11:05 p.m. Pacific time. Now, as I'm going through, you want to track where 1 degree of Pisces is in your chart. This is where the new moon is happening. This is where you want to set intentions. This is where you are charting a new course. This is a new beginning. And you want to track which house of your birth chart this is in. So that's where you can focus. That's the domain of life where you can focus. Now, there are a lot of themes to cover in this new moon, so let's just get right into it. So what is Pisces all about? When we talk about a new moon in Pisces, we're talking about Piscean topics, which includes unification, service to a higher power, tapping into your higher self, getting into states of an empathetic connection or a solidarity with the cosmos. Now, its opposite sign, Virgo, is also about service. So Pisces and Virgo are on the same axis. They both talk about service. Now, Virgo is more about serving through a hard skill set, through an actual skill set. Pisces is a little bit less. It's kind of is obviously the opposite, where Virgo is going atomic, it's going granular, it's refining things. Pisces is blowing things out into the big picture of, again, what is the singular source of all energy, or of our, where does our soul come from? Things like that, those really big questions. But ultimately, Pisces is about trust and about trusting in some type of higher energy field. So it's very profound in a lot of ways. So we're going to walk through what that means, though, and unpack this in the context of the new moon. And by the way, Pisces and Virgo are both mutable signs. So anytime you have a new full moon cycle in mutable signs, this is a bit more about adaptation and going with the flow. So what I'm going to do here is share my screen so that you can observe as well what exactly is going on here with the new moon. So, this new moon is, again, happening on February 19th, so Sunday evening, Pacific time. So going through the theme here. So, really just to put this in context, the previous lunar cycle was all about relationships. So the previous lunar cycle we're coming out of is the Aquarius new moon, the Leo full moon. The key questions there are really, which relationships am I separating from, and which relationships am I making space for? In that case, a lot of people probably had to make some fairly painful decisions around, I think that was January 21st. Starting around then, you started to feel there was a bit more seriousness around your relationships. And for some people, that was a bit of a cord cutting exercise in the long run. For others, though, it was actually saying, no, I do want this. I do want this relationship. And then the Leo full moon thereafter was all about this sort of sudden passion, this sudden awakening of passion and heart-centered energy towards, what is that relationship to somebody or to my creativity that I really want to pursue? Here we are again talking about relationships. There is another relationship theme in this chart. But before you click away, I know sometimes I get comments from people saying, well, I'm not in a relationship, so this isn't relevant for me. First of all, what we're going to talk about is not just romantic relationships. So I'm fully aware that not everybody is looking for a romantic relationship at the same time, nor should they. You do have platonic relationships, you have friendships, you have business associations, you have all kinds of relationships that you're looking after and trying to nurture. But we do have this relationship theme, but this time it's a little bit more divine. It's something that we intuitively grasp, but to some extent, there are other features of this that we maybe are trying to rationalize. But in the end, with this Pisces new moon, this is really about a new sort of cosmic or divine relationship. And we've had a lot of long-winded discussions with people about the viability of a certain partnership or a certain opinion because Mars has been in Gemini for so many months. But this new moon is actually awakening us to, very suddenly, this epiphany, this perspective that we were lacking. It's an unexpected perspective that we were lacking. We don't even really know that it was a missing piece of the puzzle, but we're trying to complete it here. So it's like an epiphany where suddenly it makes sense how this relationship could unfold, or how this creative process could unfold. So again, this relationship can be something that's more artistic, romantic, or spiritual. Now, why am I talking about all of this? As you can see in the chart here, we still have Venus in a conjunction with Neptune. Now, Venus applied this conjunction around February 14th and 15th. So, right around Valentine's Day. That's not to say that it has to necessarily play out just at that time. But in mid-February, we have Venus, still in that conjunction with Neptune. And, think about the Aquarius new moon, the previous lunar cycle I talked about. Venus was applying a conjunction with Saturn in Saturn's domicile of Aquarius. And so that was a lot heavier. That was basically, again, a finality, a conclusion of some type of creative process or a relationship. But now we have Venus in its exalted state with Neptune in its domicile. And so this conjunction here is almost, it's not a polar opposite per se, but it's a very different MO or mandate. So all of a sudden Venus here is saying, okay, hopefully you made some serious decisions about a month ago. Now let's heighten that. Let's elevate that and get out of our ego. So Pisces, what is Pisces really about, even beyond what I've already shared? It's about surrender. It's about surrendering the ego to make space for something that is more divine and almost acting as a vessel, which this is why Venus is exalted in Pisces, because it's kind of like, okay, I'm going to let go of my needs for control. I'm going to let go of my own, again, egoic energy, which is very negative in a relationship, right? Because if you hold on too closely to your individuality and you don't let anybody in, you put up walls, which is what Saturn kind of did a month ago, then you're never going to have that warmth and that closeness and that transformation ultimately with Venus. So keep in mind here, Venus is at that 29th anaretic degree. And to me, this is the maturing of a relationship to its fully sort of exalted status. So the 29th degree doesn't have to be a scary thing. The 29th degree, especially with Venus, where it's only in the sign for 3.5 weeks, the 29th degree is like, okay, yeah, it's the final degree in that sign, but in its exaltation in Pisces, I kind of feel like there's been enough time finally to reflect on things. And we're really finishing up like, okay, what is my relationship to the divine or to my creative process, or what is my relationship to this person, and what do I still need to give up? So I'm getting this download here as I'm talking that it's almost like maybe there has been sort of an egoic blockage in your, in your energy field that's been gnawing at you for a long time. And at that 29th degree, Venus is saying, okay, like, have you really tended to everything? Have you left every stone? Have you unturned every stone here? And like the chances are you haven't. So this new moon is actually this new perspective on your relationship that says, okay, I really need to let go of something to start to rekindle and nurture this relationship. Now, keep in mind, this is a new moon. So a new moon is a new course of action. It's a new intention. So for many people, this may be a new dedication or devotion to a certain relationship, or again, maybe some type of creativity. Now, on the other side, there are some cases where with Venus in Pisces, there can be a little bit of delusion and illusion around certain people. So putting your faith, almost blind faith into somebody, that's always a risk with Neptune in Pisces. So I want to be, you have to be especially mindful if you have a lot of mutable placements. Now, Pisces, I think, benefits the most from this, but if you're like a Virgo or Gemini or Sag, then this energy is all forming a very hard aspect to your other placements. And so, yeah, there is a little bit of a chance where this is excessively played out, where it's kind of like, I just, innately just or inherently going to sacrifice myself for this person or this relationship in a way that's not necessary. So if you have a mutable dominant chart in general, I'll even throw Pisces in there. I really think that, you do want to be mindful of the downside potentially of this. But on the other hand, those hard aspects can almost force a confrontation with this need to let go, to surrender, or even to forgive. I can see how some people are actually forgiving somebody who maybe did them wrong to make space for that relationship again. Reuniting. Remember, Pisces is about unification. So maybe some of you are reuniting. Now, Jupiter, let's kind of talk about the other sort of aspects around this that are supporting this even more. So Jupiter is approaching a conjunction with Chiron, and this is indicating to me that this relationship or these relationships that you're allowing are actually a healing of old wounds. Now, this doesn't mean that that person or that divinity or that divine being was necessarily part of your wound before this, but somehow that relationship and that surrendering of the ego, that letting go, is making space for a much, healthier you. When we think about Jupiter and Aries, like this is really about the expansion. This is about the expansion of the self. This is about trusting yourself. And keep in mind, Jupiter rules Pisces. So when Jupiter is in Aries conjunct Chiron, we're starting to get more clarity on this relationship or these relationships. So think about with Chiron and Aries, it's been in Aries for many years, but just think about, is there a relationship here that's actually opening new doors here for self-acceptance? Because Chiron is a lot about our vulnerabilities. It's about our insecurities. And so when Jupiter forms a conjunction with Chiron, then I really like that actually, because it's kind of like, all right, this person is telling you that it's okay to put that faith back in yourself, to believe in yourself. So these relationships don't have to be entirely sacrificial where it's like you're losing yourself fully. Because again, that's the downside of Venus and Pisces. It's like sometimes we lose all boundaries. But I think that it's almost like in this case, I'm getting a download again that like you need to do that. It doesn't always have to be unhealthy. We talk about codependencies in our world, and we talk about, holding firm to your own identity, which is always true. We always want to do that. But in this case, I do think there's something you have to just release within and let go and allow someone to help you, allow someone to have a say in the discussion, and I hate to sound too cheesy, but I actually believe this about this new moon. You have to let love in. You have to let love in to heal your own wounds. So someone else it's almost like you have to stop trying to, in this case, in this particular lunar cycle, you have to stop trying to heal things on your own. You have to open up to somebody. Now, the key questions around this new moon is, how can I release my ego to fully serve a relationship with a partner, a divine being, or a creative muse? Where am I lacking connection, by the way? And how is my ego standing in the way? So where am I lacking connection? Could I be making more friends? Could I have a better friendship with somebody? Did I, not hear from a friend during a key moment? And what does that say about the quality of my friendships? So again, Venus here does not just have to be about, any kind of particular type of relationship. But again, to expand on all of this, though, let's also talk about the fact that Venus rules money. Venus rules, very much money flows and the economy and your own resources. So Venus and Pisces here, for that kind of stuff, I think this is more of a benefit for, Leo risings and Aquarius risings, because you're going to have the new moon in the 2nd or 8th house. So that could be a focus on money. But for everybody else, this is also a time for avoiding deception financially, because Pisces, again, we're talking about the disintegration of boundaries. So there can be a overly trusting nature in our financial lives. So we want to be mindful of that. So in that area, obviously you want to have a good sort of sense of discernment. But specific to relationships, I'm seeing this as a much more beneficial new moon. So unless you're a Leo or an Aquarius rising, or maybe a Pisces Jupiter, I would focus this new moon a little bit more on, again, those relationships and that creativity. So if you're a musician or an artist, this could be a time of peak creativity, or where you let that in. You start a new creative project. Now, who rules this new moon? Neptune and Jupiter. So we're going back to that already. We've already talked about this. Neptune conjunct Venus, Jupiter conjunct Chiron. So again, it's a healing of wounds that allows you to put more faith in yourself, vis-a-vis an actual relationship with, again, any of those combos I mentioned. Now, as a sort of another thought, though, we have Mercury square Uranus. Now, this is the big transit in this new moon, or the big aspect that makes me think that this is also something that's very sudden. It's an epiphany and a download you're getting about what you still need to release. So Mercury is the mind, Uranus is the higher octave of Mercury, and squaring it, it's kind of like there's a sudden flash of insights, and the whole tree lights up, so to speak. The light bulb goes off, and you're like, oh, wow, I used to think about my relationships this way, or I used to think about myself this way. Now someone else is coming in to enlighten you. So this may be the relationship itself, or the person, or the creative project illuminates a part of your consciousness that was once dormant. So expect the unexpected in the realms of the mind around this time. So allow yourself to be sort of awakened to these new perspectives. So again, by melting down those boundaries a little bit, allowing space to trust somebody else, and maybe somebody's coming in with information that you need here. And Mercury is also trining Mars and Gemini. So there's a bit of intellectual thought and cerebral thoughts and left brain analysis going on too. But Uranus square is much more of an active dominant energy. And Uranus is saying, let's connect these random dots that I never thought of before. Like, how does this relationship, or how does this person help me solve this other crisis that I've been dealing with for the last 10 years? Like, that kind of synthesis is going on. So Uranus, yet again, plays a role just like it did in the Leo full moon. So make these sort of genius connections, allow this synthesis to happen in the mind, go beyond the ego structure once again, though. And Uranus does that. Uranus is kind of like the fish waking up to water. It's like, oh, there is energy pervading all of existence. So allow yourself to realize, yes, there is a collective energy, but there's also an alchemization of energy in a relationship in that Vesica Pisces, right? So in that Vesica Pisces, where you have that overlap of the Venn diagram, we're talking about the overlap of certain energies. So what happens when two people come together? What happens when two people come together? There could be this beautiful creation of something beyond the individuals in that relationship. So maybe you're creating a higher consciousness, you're elevating consciousness through somebody else or through a creative project. So I like that element of it. And you want to look at where Aquarius and Taurus is in your chart to see where that electrifying sort of consciousness is happening. So that will help clarify this. So again, this is not a purely passive new moon. This is not just about allowing, even though this is part of it, allowing the walls to come down, allowing the relationship to electrify you. This is also about hooking into this new perspective, hooking into a new perspective, and suddenly changing your mind about something. Changing your mind about something, seeing some type of relationship in a new light, seeing a creative project in a new light, and then acting on that. Mercury in Aquarius moves really fast. And so I think that a lot of people are going to be suddenly inspired by the time this new moon takes hold, suddenly inspired to experience the divine through a relationship or creative process or meditation or something else. Now, the final thing I'm going to say here is that this may be a preview of Saturn entering Pisces. So the new moon is basically conjunct Saturn, actually. And it's near that ingress point of Pisces. Zero Pisces is close to there. So this could be themes around Pisces, and Saturn is very close to there and will be there in just 2 weeks after this, really. So once Saturn enters Pisces, so the announcements that are made this day, the discussions that are being had this day are very much a preview of Saturn and Pisces. And what are themes around Pisces? Well, it does deal with spirituality and healing and the collective consciousness, but also deals with, pharmaceuticals and hospitals and things like that, and mental health. So I do see this Pisces new moon, number one, for you, just to kind of close the loop on what I've been talking about before this, as a moment of healing, right? A moment of healing through your relationships and a way to tap into collective consciousness or unity consciousness. But it also may be a highlighting of a new, or the highlighting of an event that talks about a new scrutiny, a new way in which we're scrutinizing maybe pharma or the health system or hospitals. Saturn in Pisces is really going to scrutinize those things. It's going to scrutinize our healing process, how we heal, how we tend to our sense of well-being and our mental health. So I do think that something around that topic will be active on this Pisces new moon. So watch out for announcements in those fields and in those areas. And within your own life with Uranus square Mercury, it's like maybe that's the epiphany suddenly. It's like, oh, well, the way that I've been tending to my mental health or my healing process has been all wrong. I need to approach it from this other angle now that I have new information. So this could actually be a very, very perspective altering moon. It's actually, in a lot of ways, it is giving you a preview into this new Saturn Pisces era. So I want to thank you for joining. And before I close off, if you want to get a reading from me, get one through the link down below. Also, I'm hosting a retreat in Croatia in September. So join me for a week there. There's 10 spots left and you have to register by May 15th. At that, I'm going to have custom workshops you can't get anywhere else. And we're also, of course, going to explore the Adriatic coast of Croatia. So it'll be really fun. And also, I'm teaching a course on what your birth chart reveals about your parents. So also you can sign up for that down below. I have a number of other channels that you can follow as well, including TikTok and Instagram. Keep following this channel, subscribe to get more insights. I'm going to do a video on March 2023 soon and other things as well. So again, hopefully you have a great Pisces new moon. Again, set intentions where Pisces is and focus on your healing journey vis-a-vis relationships and creativity. Don't completely lose yourself though in that relationship, of course. But I think we could all use a little bit more faith in the things that we deep down already know about, like the things that we already have to let go of, which is our own ego. And then as part of that, with that Mercury-Uranus square, being a little bit more actually honest and discerning about how we're healing ourselves in other ways. So again, I really hope this is a great new moon for you, and take care.